At first, there had been no running commentary. A baby reached, grabbed, flinched, and settled, guided by sensation, not sentences. Hunger arrived like a signal, comfort like relief. Experience happened, but nothing explained it. When something changed, light, sound, a face, the body reacted before any idea formed. Attention locked onto what mattered, then slipped away. There had been no plan, no replay, no question asked inside the mind. That wordless beginning set the baseline. Life could be felt without being narrated. And because nothing named the moment, nothing judged it either. There was only doing, then stopping, then moving on. Then language arrived, and everything started to change. Early on, words got used like tools, tied to needs and routines. Sounds turned into labels. Labels turned into short sentences. Thinking began to borrow that structure. Before it ever went silent, self-talk showed up out loud. Children narrated what they did as they did it, step by step, using speech as a guide. The voice did not describe life, it steered it. With repetition, those spoken directions started to shrink. Some words got dropped, then the volume faded, but the guiding function stayed. What began as public commentary became private instructions. An inner voice formed from practice. At school age, that running commentary did not disappear. It changed jobs. It became quieter and more strategic, used when a task felt hard, when rules stacked up, when attention started to slip. Children used private speech to break problems into steps, to hold instructions in mind, to stop themselves from rushing. The voice acted like a mental handrail. It guided choices, then checked them. Researchers saw a pattern. The children who used this kind of self-talk stayed on task longer and made fewer mistakes. Performance improved, not by magic, but by keeping the brain organized under pressure. In adolescence, the inner voice rarely stayed a private helper. Social awareness grew fast. Every glance and silence seemed to mean something. Self-talk started tracking status, belonging, and mistakes, turning ordinary moments into tests. The same narration that once guided homework now judged personality. It replayed comments, predicted rejection, and compared bodies, grades, and popularity. A harsher tone felt like protection, but it often narrowed choices and shrank confidence. Over time, that running commentary did more than describe life. It started to write a story about who someone was. When the story sounded capable, risks looked possible. When it sounded flawed, identity hardened around doubt. Early adulthood brought a new deal. Bills arrived, schedules tightened, and decisions carried real consequences. With less supervision, the inner voice filled the gaps. It weighed risks, pushed action, or stalled it. Stress tested that voice. After a mistake, some minds repeated it like a headline. Others translated it into a lesson. The difference sounded small, but it shifted the body. Tension rose, or it eased. Day after day, self-talk became a private regulator. It named feelings, set limits, and rebuilt focus after setbacks. When it stayed harsh, resilience shrank. When it stayed steady, recovery happened faster. Clinicians and researchers had looked at self-talk with a different question. Did it help, or did it trap someone? They tracked what people told themselves and when, and they started sorting it into patterns. Helpful self-talk tended to stay practical. It named a feeling, chose a next step, and then moved on. In therapy frameworks, it acted like guidance. It reduced stress because it ended. Rumination had worked the opposite way. The same worry replayed, darker each time, with no new information and no plan. Repetition made it feel true. Over time, that loop drained energy and deepened distress. Once harmful loops got recognized, the next step turned practical. People used structured techniques to steer the inner voice on purpose. Reframing took a problem and changed its meaning, reducing threat and opening options. Compassionate self-talk worked differently. It replaced insults with the kind of coaching a supportive friend might offer. That shift mattered because the body responded. Stress signals eased, and people recovered faster after mistakes. These were not just comforting ideas. With practice, mood ratings rose and anxious spirals shortened. Behavior followed, more follow-through, fewer avoided tasks, better sleep. The inner voice stayed present, but it sounded changed. Then the world went digital, and the inner voice faced a new kind of crowd. Social media turned daily life into a highlight reel. Almost instantly, self-talk compared, measured, and judged, even without being asked. Algorithms learned what held attention and served more of it, on a loop. The brain treated that stream like a scoreboard. Self-talk started tracking likes, bodies, careers, and happiness, far beyond real-life circles. And because the feed never really ended, the commentary returned more often. Quiet moments filled up. The inner voice stopped waiting for problems to solve and began reacting to constant cues. Then self-talk stopped looking like a strange habit and started looking like a tool. Coaches and sports psychologists treated the inner voice as part of training. Athletes practiced phrases on purpose because pressure changed what people told themselves. At the same time, mindfulness spread through wellness culture. Instead of believing every thought, people practiced noticing it, labeling it, and letting it pass. That changed self-talk from automatic commentary into something you could step back from. Productivity culture pushed it further. Apps, routines, and self-optimization plans turned inner speech into a script for goals, habits, and motivation. The expectation sounded simple. Change your words, change your results. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it backfired. In today's reality, talking to yourself had looked less like a red flag and more like a human feature. People used it to plan, steady nerves, and make choices. The surprise had been how common it stayed, but the effect had depended on the tone. Supportive words had helped action. Harsh, repetitive lines had tightened stress and fed doubt. Context mattered too. A quick reminder guided focus while looping commentary drained it. That contrast had been the point. Early on, there had been a wordless baseline. Now the mind carried a running voice that could be shaped. With practice, people had coached it, turning it from critic into tool.